Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a little hedgehog using acrylic paints. I'll be showing you step by step how to do it all the way through from the drawing to the finished painting. And I've got my husband Mark with me today.
Hey there, everybody.
He's helping with our live chat, so if you've got questions, you can ask those while we're working. Let's get started. Okay, so I started out with a 8x10. I decided to go a little bit smaller than my normal 9x12 canvas. I've got a gesso board here that I've prepped with a coat of burnt umber. Let's go over our palette really quick. I've got, this is some glazing liquid. This is carbon black, unbleached titanium, titanium white, quinacridone magenta, cadmium red medium, cadmium orange, cadmium yellow medium, yellow oxide, phthalo green yellow shade, phthalo blue green shade, ultramarine blue, doxazine purple, burnt sienna, and burnt umber. I may not use all these colors because I haven't worked out the exact flowers that I'm going to do yet, but I just kind of put out a rainbow so I'd have all the bases covered just in case. And I'm going to use chalk on my board here just to sketch out the hedgehog. I got it started for us, but I'm going to explain what I did here. So I started out by kind of figuring out where I wanted to put him, and I wanted his face to be kind of in that third quadrant there. So I kind of measured this way and then measured this way to kind of get my thirds, and this general area here was where I wanted the face of the hedgehog to be. So that's kind of where I started at, and then I, made his body big to go around. You can see the reference photo there that I got off of Pixabay. It's really super cute. These are so adorable. So first thing I did was just kind of figure out the size of the face, and I kind of just did a general oval for that. Their face is kind of smushed in this picture. His face is a little smushed down. So, and then at the bottom center here, I did a little triangle for the nose. And then up from that, I did kind of a V shape. And about a nose distance away is where I'll do the bottom of the eyes. And they kind of angle this way and do sort of a triangle shape here and here. And then this nose part is going to kind of curve down a little bit. And the cheeks are going to come out fluffy from the sides here. And then if you continued this line up, really kind of from the inside of the eye up, that's where the ears are going to go, kind of right at the top of our oval. So here and then here, there's these little kind of just upside down cupped shapes there and there. And then the fur or the needles or whatever spines are going to kind of come up like this and around. And I kind of measured about a face width above it and then just a little teeny bit more. So maybe 1 1/4 or 1 1/3 face widths is how high you want to go above here. And then it's going to round up around and come about a face width this way as well. So if you just kind of want to measure however big your face is, and kind of that's the back side there. And I'm going to come up just slightly from the bottom of the oval for the body. And then the white fur is going to kind of curve down and meet up with the outside right there. And then you're just going to continue your little curved body. It's really pretty easy to draw. The spines, if you want to kind of mark those out, they're going to kind of come up straight from the head and sort of do this kind of angular thing, and they go in all kinds of crazy directions. So those are going to be fun to paint. And then the fur over here is kind of coming down this way, and then out from the face this way, up from around the sides, and out this way. So just having a couple little lines there might help us with our direction when we get to painting. Then for the background, I'm going to do it pretty simple. I just wanted to come up just slightly from his body. So I'm going to come up just a little bit and do kind of a horizon line there on either side, and just sort of do a simple path in front of him. We're going to do kind of some side to side, and then our grasses are going to kind of come up and around and do some wildflowers that kind of curve in around. We'll do a couple behind him, but most of this is going to just be kind of grasses on either side that are kind of somewhat coming in front, but sort of cupping and surrounding him, making this kind of inward angled shape. Like that. All right, so there's our drawing. Not too bad. How are you doing today, hon?
Not too bad.
Any questions about the drawing before I keep going?
Hold on. I'm having a hard time
What are you doing?
here. Sorry.
What are you doing?
It's my hedgehog. I just catching him.
Oh, God.
Sorry. He's not too happy. He's going to be painted.
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
You know how long I've been sitting here waiting for that moment?
I was like, that sounds like a baby.
That's a hedgehog not too happy. But anyways.
Okay. Obviously, Mark did not run that by me before the show.
Because I knew that you wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, exactly. That would not have happened. Sorry.
It's better that you don't know.
It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
That's right. Because I know you can't hit me during the show, so I'm all right.
You're protected behind your bar.
That's right. Nothing can be thrown this way.
Okay.
All right, back to the show.
Yeah. All right. So I've got my 3/8 inch angle brush here, and I've mixed up just a little bit of phthalo green and my yellow oxide, and I'm going to just kind of put in and just holding it, I've pressed it flat like this. So we've got a nice flat angle, and I'm going to hold it so that the point is facing me and kind of far up on the brush, so I can get a good like flicking motion. And I'm just going to kind of flick in some grasses. Leave a little space in between, and if it's not coming off your brush easily, add a little water to your paint so it flows a little bit better. I am just going to do some random directions. Here, we'll do several colors, so this will just be kind of our first layer of grasses, and then do some on this side. Go ahead and go right kind of behind him. Don't worry about going over your drawing, but we want some of the grasses to be kind of behind him so that he doesn't look like he's got a halo around him. So make sure that you overlap his drawing just a little bit, a couple of times. Each time I reload, I'm pressing it flat so that I have a nice chiseled edge on my brush. And I'm coming down just to about where his body starts and kind of going to angle down toward the bottom corners here this way a little bit. There we go. So we'll do these back grasses first, and then once we get all of these placed in, then we'll put a few more down low. Let me grab a little bit of burnt umber and mix that in with that color there. I'm going to take out the moisture out of my brush so that I have kind of a dry brush slightly, and I'm going to lightly side by side, side to side, just kind of scrape in some paint along the foreground underneath our hedgehog here. Add a little bit of unbleached titanium so it shows up. There we go. And I'm kind of leaving this dark right up next to him so that he's got a little shadow. So don't go right up to him with this color, but we're just going to kind of add a little bit of dirt or ground here to our painting. Okay, there we go. We'll add more later, but this is just our first little layer. Clean that out. mix up a little bit of a brighter green. So I'm going to mix cadmium yellow this time. It'll make a much more vibrant green. And I'll grab some white, mix that in. And then I want a little bit darker version, so I'm going to grab a little bit more green over here. A bit more yellow. So I'm going to load it with this dark color, and then I'm going to kind of swipe it through that lighter color so I have a little bit of both on my brush. And we'll just add some of these. Make sure you're pressing it nice and flat. And you don't have to see all of the grass as long as you're overlapping it enough. Like these don't have to go all the way down to the bottom, and you really kind of don't want them to, because that way they kind of get lost in the shadows behind these other grasses that we're going to put. If you did them all down to the bottom, it would look like stripes, and we don't want that. So we're kind of going to layer our grasses, and then these ones in the foreground will kind of cover up any parts that these ones back here might have, you know, where they might have attached to the ground. So we don't have to show it.
All right, we got a question.
Yes.
Kim would like to know, how do you prevent from getting the paint all up in the ferrule? Because she has a hard time doing that.
Well, I do that too. I get it up there. If you clean it, there's two ways you can do it. You can use a palette knife to mix your colors, because usually it happens when you're mixing your colors. Or you can just kind of be a little bit more careful and clean it out after you mix your colors immediately afterwards, so that you have some I don't know what I was saying. Oh, so that it doesn't migrate up, you know, when you're painting, because that's what happens, you know, if you go straight from the canvas, or from the mixing it to the canvas, it tends to push it back up into the ferrule. So adding some burnt umber mixed with that yellow or phthalo green here. That was Alexa trying to... Oh, never mind. Who shall not be named during the show.
We need to mute her mic.
She can control the... Okay, I'll mute her. She can control our lights here. We don't want her to go off on us. All right, it's looking cute. Add a little bit of water to that paint because it's starting to get a little sticky. If your paint is not flowing off your brush nicely, just add a little water to it. If it's starting to get sticky, you can tell because it'll start to skip on the canvas. You'll see kind of like little bits of the canvas showing through. So you can always add a little bit of your glazing liquid too to your paint, and that will give it a little bit more fluidity also as well. And the golden glazing liquid has an extender in it, so it'll give you a little bit of working time, extra working time too if you're blending, but we're not going to need that with this painting, really. Okay. It's so cute. Can't stand it. We haven't started painting that one.
So I learned a new measurement earlier in the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 1 1/4 hedgehog face widths.
There you go.
So I'm going to start using that from now on.
1 1/4 hedgehog face width.
Yeah.
Okay.
That should come in handy sometime, I'm sure.
Sometime, yeah.
Okay. Hey, want to say thanks to everybody who's joining us this
Yes.
great weekend, Saturday here in 2017.
Mixing up some phthalo green and phthalo blue here to make a teal. And then we'll add some of this unbleached titanium to it. Yeah, we hope if you're new to our channel that you will subscribe and come back and see us. After the show, you can go and check out my channel homepage by clicking on my name or my photograph. You can see all of the over 200 videos that I've done over the last few years, teaching people how to paint with acrylics. It's really fun. We love what we do here. It's all about helping you to learn some skills, make learning to paint a little bit less scary and a little bit easier, give you some projects that give you some success and confidence to paint. Got so many people that send me emails and pictures and messages saying that they never thought they could paint and that they tried it and now they're painting and their friends and family are so amazed and they've even started selling them. And I mean, it's just really incredible. And I'm absolutely love painting. So I know how much it's done for me, and I'm so happy to be able to share that with other people. Okay, so I'm just adding this teal color now to our grasses here. And let's add a little bit of it under our hedgehog here too in our foreground. It's like a weird color, but it'll kind of all come together at the end. Make a little bit more sense once we get a little fly crawling around on the canvas. It's like he wants to get in on it. All right, adding a little bit of burnt sienna to this teal color. Okay, he's flying around in my face now. This reminds me of that other fly. What video was that? He was so
I don't remember. That was a big fly, though.
He was huge. Buzzing the mic, too. You could hear him on camera. Okay. I need a little bit lighter. I want to go light enough to be able to see. There we go. I'm just skimming it side to side so that it kind of catches on the texture and sort of dry brush some color on here. Cute. Grab some of that brown burnt umber there and just kind of skim that over that area there too. Okay. And we'll add some more grasses once we put our hedgehog in, just to kind of set him back in even more. We'll put a few little grasses sort of tucked up in front of him, so he looks like he's even a little bit more hidden back there in the grasses. But for now, we'll call that good, I think. Get to work on him. So I'm gonna grab a 1/4 inch angle brush this time and grab some burnt sienna and a little bit of unbleached titanium and just spray my palette so it gets sticky.
Okay, so I got some hedgehog facts to throw at you.
Okay, give me a second. Gonna get some yellow oxide here, and I'll have 2 colors here to work with. I'll have the burnt sienna and unbleached titanium, and then some yellow oxide. And then I also want to have a gray, so I'm going to grab some burnt umber and ultramarine blue and mix those 2 together. Wait till I start to do the little spines, and then I'll have plenty of time to hear some facts. So I'm going to be switching between these colors. I grabbed a little bit of that teal too. It's actually fine. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the burnt sienna, and we'll put that kind of right around the face. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the grasses, only I'm going to kind of do little shorter brush strokes. Actually, I probably should start from the back and work my way forward. And I'm going to grab some gray back here. Oops, he's turning out turquoise back there. Well. And then just work my way forward. Grab some yellow. Every now and then just kind of grab a different color to throw in some little spines with different colors. And these are all going to overlap. These ones are going to kind of be our bottom layer. So I'm not too concerned with exactly, getting them exactly perfect. These are just going to be kind of underneath our really bright layer of needles or spines or whatever these are. Quills probably. Maybe that's porcupine.
Man, if we just had some facts.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, that's a big long sigh.
Go. Do it.
First of all,
Oh,
we get a super chat. Thank you so much for Brenda. And she said, what did she say? Whoops. Thank you for all that you've taught me.
oh,
Yeah. So thank you
Thank you,
again,
Brenda.
Brenda.
Yes.
And okay, so yes, they are quills.
Quills. Okay.
Yeah. They have between 5,000 and 7,000 quills.
Ooh. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you notice, I'm going to zoom in real close here. I want to kind of show what I'm doing here with these. Yeah, that's good. All right, so I'm going to kind of do a few in this direction, in this area. So I'm going to do them and change direction each time I do one. So I'm kind of pulling and pushing with my brush and rotating it so that they're not all in the same direction. So, and that way it'll give that kind of overlapped, kind of natural feel to these quills, because they are very kind of haphazardly set in there. They're all kind of, some of them are going to be poking straight up at us, so we're only going to maybe see just like a tiny dot on some of them. So we can kind of do some that are sort of look like little dots, and then some that are a little bit longer. But kind of changing the direction that you're turning your brush as you put these out will kind of help. Okay, there we go. Cute. Very cute. Can you see this side of him? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's centered. I can work without worrying about. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'm going to grab a little bit of burnt umber here and some unbleached titanium. And we'll put a little bit of detail around the face to start with. So this little area in his muzzle is going to be little hairs coming that way. I'll kind of outline underneath him just slightly with this color. And then I'm going to grab some of that yellow oxide and do a little bit on the cheeks coming out. This area is going to be a lot lighter, but I do want to put in a little bit of this color just to start with. Just so we don't have just white on here. We want some other colors happening. Let's grab some of that burnt umber gray mixture here. We'll put in some of his ears with that. I'm just going to tap in to create the outer edge of the ear. I'm going to grab a little bit of black. Did I get it? Oh. And maybe a little bit of brown so that it's not quite solid black. Soften it up just a little bit, but I want to do the inside of the ears nice and dark. There we go. I'm kind of doing a general shape. It's very kind of rough shape. I'm not trying to keep it super clean. Let's use that black here to kind of put in our eyes so we'll know sort of where they go. This outer edge is kind of more rounded. And then our nose is going to be kind of flat-ish on the top, and then sort of like an upside-down heart. So the bottom part has got kind of rounded there and there. There we go. I'm going to let that sit, and then I'm going to take off all of that chalk so I can see what we've got going on. I'm going to clean that out, though, and I'm going to grab some more of this. Just keep my paint wet so it doesn't dry out on me. I'm going to grab some more of that yellow oxide, maybe a little bit of burnt umber to darken it up a little bit. And we'll go ahead and put in some shadow underneath our little hedgehog there. A little bit on this side. And then he's got a couple little feet that are poking out. They're kind of pink, so I'm going to grab a little bit of that cadmium red and a little bit of unbleached titanium. And I still have these brown and yellow in my brush, so it's kind of softening up the color. And we'll kind of put in little feet there, little claws poking there, and then this one's kind of coming out a little bit farther. And then, actually, let me use that gray color. I'll fix his little feet. They're not looking all that hot right now, but we'll give them a little bit more detail in a minute. You could leave them out off, honestly. You don't have to put the feet in. All right, let's grab some unbleached titanium. Get a little bit of water. And let's start putting in our little brighter quills here with this. And I'm going to kind of pick and try to kind of go over the top of some of these. Just a few of them. We don't have to do every single one this way, but it'll actually help if we kind of get over the top of a few of these that we've put in previously. And I'm going to start layering. It's like we did before. In our little quills here. Changing direction as we move, crisscrossing some of them so they're not all lined up in the same spot, going in the same direction. Any more hedgehog facts then?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
The sea urchin is actually named after the hedgehog.
Really?
Because before they got the name hedgehog, which was derived from they like to hang around the edges of gardens and they make sounds like pigs, so hedgehogs.
Okay.
But yeah, so because they used to be called urchins.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So a sea urchin, looks like one that's been rolled up.
Yeah, it does.
They're largely immune to snake venom.
That's interesting.
Oh, a group of hedgehogs is called a array.
Array.
Array, yep.
R-A-Y?
R-A-Y.
Array of hedgehogs.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
And they're illegal in Maine, Arizona, California, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Hawaii, and New York City.
Illegal?
Illegal.
To own, I guess?
I guess so. Because they're not native to
the U.S.?
To the Americas.
Interesting. Okay, if you get like one stray one there that's like too bright, way too bright, we can cover that up later. I'm barely touching down here to keep from getting these too big. If you do, if you're having trouble keeping them small, what you can do is switch to a little spotter, like a small round brush like this, and it'll make it a little bit easier to keep them a little bit more uniform size. But I find that the larger the brush, the more paint you can, load up on it, and the less frequently you have to load it because of that. So you can work faster and get more done in a shorter amount of time by using a little bit bigger brush. That's why I also like to use it for grasses instead of like a liner brush. Using the bigger brush just allows you to kind of cover more ground more quickly. Okay. So I want to get around the ears here. I want to make sure that I don't cover the ears. Got another super chat?
Oh, yes, we do.
Wow.
This one's from Beth. And she says, thank you for helping me on my painting journey.
Oh, thank you, Beth.
You're welcome. No, she was talking to me.
She was talking to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because my one epic tutorial.
You're so, yeah.
So
the stickman was life-changing for her.
That's all they really needed. So you're welcome, Beth.
That was awesome. I think that's my favorite one on the channel. To say I had a hard time keeping the camera straight. From laughing so low.
Yeah, I haven't forgiven you for laughing at my
I did
heart.
ruin it. I did ruin
Yes.
your tutorial by laughing.
Yes, it was serious.
That was very rude of me. Sorry.
Of course. Everybody's art should not be laughed at.
I wasn't laughing at the art. I was laughing that you were so accurately mimicking what I say. It's pretty funny. You listened well. Oh, he's so cute. You probably do a drinking game with if you were into that sort of thing. And how I'll take a drink every time I say cute, because this one is definitely there. Okay, here we go. All the way around here. And then I shouldn't have said that because now the teachers are not going to let me just play in their classes. Sorry, I take that back. Of course, I was talking about drinking
water and Cokes and
yes. Coke
sports
and
drinks.
Right.
You needed to stay hydrated while doing art.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to use the same brush, but this time I'm going to go really closer together and not leave as much of the dark showing through. See, I deliberately kind of separated them out quite a bit, so I had plenty of the dark showing through. That's what gives it depth, and it gives it that kind of like speckled hedgehog feeling there. But this fur here on the face is almost solid white, so I'm going to go really dense with it, overlapping it really closely so that I get a nice bright Oh, and I did want to erase around the eyes there, so I'm going to take a damp cloth and just erase the face and around the ears there. That's the nice thing about chalk is it just comes right off. It's a little bit of water. Oops, and just took my paint off too. Let's go ahead and get all this grasses off too while we're at it. There we go. Now we can see what we've got. See where we still need to fill in. I'm actually going to kind of leave a little bit of that dark around the eyes slightly, so I don't want to cover up right up to the eye, or over it, I mean. Go up to it, but not over it. Just barely leaving a little tiny bit of that dark color showing. Keep on going around here. I'm going right over the top of those ear, the dark part of the ear there as well. Really kind of just use the tip of it to dot in right here in front of the eye. And we can add a little bit of this color right around the nose to give it a little kind of highlight. Just touching it with the tip of the brush there. And then just keep on going around here. Filling in. This fur kind of starts falling down around the sides of the face and angling down, so you can kind of pull some longer ones that sort of angle down. And don't worry about getting it too light at this point, because what we can do is we'll go back in and shadow it with some washes of color to give it a little bit of shape. So right now we're not worried about the values, we're just kind of worried about getting in some color on some of the little hairs on there, little brush strokes and things, so that we can go back in. Right here I'm kind of just doing little teeny tiny ones right up under the muzzle. And the sides of the face. Come down. And then let's put in some detail around the fingers here, so they've got kind of some lighter color on the tops of the paws there. And we'll shadow those in so that they kind of disappear down behind, underneath the body, but do that for now. And then we'll put some more of this color on here under the body. Nice and bright. quiet over there.
Oh, no.
Did I scare you off?
No, I'm just trying to keep up with chat, making sure
okay.
things, I'm advertising ugly Christmas sweaters.
Oh, yeah. If you are into ugly Christmas sweaters, which my family has done for years and years now, they're still a really popular trend. In fact, you're seeing them kind of more mainstream now. So with my Teespring store being new and all, I decided to create a ugly Christmas sweater for my artist friends. Anybody who's interested in showing their artsy side with their ugly Christmas sweaters. So it's got a palette on the front and it looks like stitching. So it's all kind of that kind of stitched look.
Yeah, got like a cross stitch.
Yeah, like cross stitch, kind of almost. Well, like a sweater stitch, And there's Stick Man and Stick Girl holding hands. There's the big palette. There's brushes. And then I'm pretty proud of this part. It says, my sweater is just in the ugly stage.
That's awesome. I like that.
So it's a little inside joke for our artsy, art community here.
And if people are Patreon members in the Facebook group,
yes, they can get 5% off. There's discounts for the Patreon group in there, and if you are in my Facebook group, I've also got a discount code for the Thankful Art people. So be sure to check those out if you want to join those groups. Those links are down in the description. All right. We add a little bit of highlight to the tops of the ears just so they're kind of showing up a little bit better. Around. This one seems bigger than the other one for some reason. Oh, this one's kind of, there we go. Let me do that. This one's going down into the fur in the picture, and that's why it looks smaller, but it's not. It's just hiding a little bit differently. Okay. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, 2. Second.
Actually, that's the third.
Third, okay.
Yes, and many people in chat have said the same thing, so you're not alone.
Okay, good. And grabbed some unbleached titanium. I'm going to get this burnt umber color here. Or I'm sorry, burnt sienna color here. Mix that with the unbleached titanium, and I'm going to kind of use that to go over this transition area. So this snout is transitioned over the top of that light color. That'll kind of push it back, make it look like part of the face. Let's put a little bit of this color under here too. Maybe outline the eye with it. And I should probably switch to a smaller brush for this. There we go. I'm going to switch to a number 202 round. Clean up the eyes a little bit. Now that I kind of covered them up a little bit, we'll sort of clean them up, make them look a little bit better, more defined. And let's define the nose a little bit more. So it's kind of crooked right now. We'll kind of straighten it out a little bit. Add a little bit more of that dark black in that area. We're almost done with the hedgehog part. It's not too hard, really. Let's grab some white now, and I'm going to go back in and I'm going to highlight a few of the little needles with white. Just a few. Actually, I want to go back to that smaller brush. This one's not giving me fine enough lines. Getting that angle brush again. There we go. I'm just going to pick out a few, mostly in this center part right here. That'll help this part kind of come forward, and if we don't do any up here at the very top, it'll kind of round out that bottom back area and make it look like it's kind of receding away from us. So this is just that bright white, pure white. What you laughing at?
Another person in chat says, "Oh, he's just so cute."
Yes, it's the only word for it. These are like one of my favorite little woodland creatures. They're just too adorable. And if you've ever held one, they're just little roly-poly balls of adorableness. I can't remember who had one. Somebody brought it into church one time, actually. Not during church, but, you know, while we were doing some women's group or something. I don't remember, but it was quite the hit. Let's use a little bit of this white around the face as well. In our little picture, our guy is kind of more white on the face, but there's, you know, some hedgehogs that have more of a brown face, so you can decide if you want to leave it more brown or if you want to give it this white look like mine has. I just liked the kind of white colors against this brown. So do some really bright ones right here to show that transition between the dark and light fur right there. Okay. All right, so let's let that set. We'll let it dry really well, and I'm going to grab some gray here. That's that burnt umber and ultramarine blue with unbleached titanium color here, and I'm going to kind of outline the eye a little bit with that. There we go. Let's put a little bit on the nose. So his nostrils are kind of split in this kind of, they're sort of rounded out like this. So we'll just put a little bit of this gray at the bottom of that nose there. And then we'll put a highlight at the top of it to make it look shiny. And grab that phthalo blue, a little bit of white. I'm going to grab some burnt sienna too, just to kind of soften that up a bit. So you actually think I want a little bit of cadmium red in there too. There we go. That'll dull it down a little bit, make it a little bit more neutral. We'll use that at the top of the nose here. I'm just going to tap in a little highlight at the top of the nose. And then let's put some glazing medium with this. And we'll use that to kind of highlight the eye a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of do a line just on the inside of it kind of just a little bit away from the outer edge. And then we'll use a little bit of the bright white and go there and there. Maybe a little bit smaller one. And put a little bit of that on the nose. Okay. And let's put some of that kind of blue highlight on our nails of the hedgehog down here. These little claws, just to kind of paint his toenails.
You're painting his toenails? I don't know if I think it might be a she then.
Yeah, I think so. It's a she. It's a she.
Okay. Well,
okay, I'm putting a little bit of this blue in this muzzle right down here too, in this shadow area underneath. See that? And then let's put a little bit over here in this fur. Just slightly, kind of around the bottom area. What were you going to say?
Oh, somebody in chat asked if the hedgehog had a name. And I
Ooh,
named it for you.
we should name the hedgehog.
Yeah, I already did for you.
Okay. Did chat name it or did you named it?
No, I named it.
What's the name?
Tank.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Tank. That's so cute, actually. I love that.
Tank the hedgehog.
Tank the hedgehog.
So now you can say you've painted a tank.
I did. That's awesome. That's a great idea, honey. Those who are new to our channel won't know anything about why you're saying Mark's a big tank fan. He plays a game called World of Tanks. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Plug for World of Tanks. you can. I'll send you the bill for that.
Exactly.
But yeah, he's okay. Grabbing the burnt umber here, and I'm gonna add a little bit of that to the inside edge of the ear there. Yeah, so he's always telling me I need to paint a tank. So now I have. Thanks, hon.
You're welcome.
Good, made that easy on me. I did, Veterans Day is coming up. I did actually think about doing one for Veterans Day, but I don't know how popular tank painting would be, so I've got a lot of ladies that watch the show. Mm-hmm. Although they might be interested for their husbands. I don't know.
Yeah, see?
If we get enough people saying yes, they want one, you can leave a comment and let me know if you want to see a tank.
I don't hold out much hope for that.
Huh?
I don't hold out much hope for that.
No, I don't think so either. All right, I'm going to let that dry really well before I do anything else to the fur, but I do want to add a little bit of shadowing, still some glazing on it, but he's looking pretty good. So let's zoom out a little bit, hon, and we'll work on some flowers.
Oh, I knew there were going to be flowers somehow.
Well, of course we're doing flowers. Originally thought about doing a mushroom, but I already have like a red mushroom painting, so you could probably use that if you wanted to add him to with the mushrooms from that painting. You can check that out. It's got those little red mushrooms. We did fairy houses on ours, so actually he would fit right in with that whole scenario there. He's a little bit more on the realistic side than we did our mushrooms, but I definitely think he would fit. All right, so I'm going to grab a little bit bigger brush. This is my number 1 round. And somebody asks me about my tape grips here. They're not really anything special. It's just pretty masking tape that I taped up because I've cracked all of my brushes from leaving them in the water too long while I've painting. So, but they do give you a little bit more grip. So I think some people just like the feeling. All right, so I thought we would do some just kind of random grasses, wildflowers, sort of autumn, late autumn colors. So some kind of earth tones. I'm going to grab some quinacridone magenta, adding a little bit of the unbleached titanium to it. And then add a little bit of my yellow. Let's see what that does. Probably tone it down, make it a little bit more like a salmon pink. I like that. Okay. So we always need a darker and a lighter version, so we've got kind of a little bit lighter or darker version with a little bit more of the quinacridone magenta, and then we've got that lighter version. I'm going to even add a little bit of white over here. So we've got 3 different colors to work with. And I'm just going to get them all kind of mixed up on my brush here if I can. And we will tap in some grasses.
So somebody in chat would like to know about the level of difficulty for this painting.
I'm trying to keep it pretty simple, so I don't really think it's that hard, honestly. I think if you did like my bear or fox, it's definitely on the same level as those ones. It's a I don't know. I definitely think it's a beginner painting. It may be probably the hardest part is the face. So, if you have trouble doing like small details, filling in small details, you could always use the back end of a brush and do, dots for the eyes with some more wet paint, and then do like 2 dots or 3 dots for the nose, kind of in that kind of heart shape. There's ways to simplify it, but I don't think it's going to be that difficult. I really don't. Really trying to keep it on the simpler side for folks. Probably getting the brush stroke small enough might be difficult for some, but if you use a small enough brush, like if you used a brush like this, you'd have to reload it quite often, but you can't make if you press your brush flat, and that's as wide as your line is going to go. So if you have a brush that's not going to go, very wide, then you're going to be able to do this without any problems. So let's keep on going here. I'm just going to kind of add these kind of field grasses here that have that pink color. Just adding dots, random dots. And I'm kind of basing them off of kind of picking a stem to sort of work from, but they don't have to even really connect to anything in particular. We can add the stem later if we need to. So just find a spot that you kind of think works. And then I'm going to vary the height. So I've got one high, one low, so I'm going to go right in the middle and do one like right in here. That's sort of in between those 2 sizes. Like that. Get some of my darker color so I get some dark contrast in our flowers. I really don't think this is even a flower. This is more of like I think it's the grass is pink. The seed heads or whatever, pink. Right, let's do one more that's kind of over here. They do kind of that cone shape, sort of. They're making sort of triangles. So, and then they taper down here too, a little bit on the bottom, tapers down. But then they kind of come out, flare out. I guess more like a diamond shape, like that. So just kind of keep that shape in mind when you put them in, make it a little bit easier. think he's dry enough now. Let's go ahead and put in our final shadowing on him. So I'm going to grab my glazing liquid and some of my burnt umber. And I'm going to go glaze this area between the body and the white fur. Give it a little bit more contrast right there. Glazing liquid just makes it easier to get a transparent color, but you don't have to have it. You can use water instead if you don't have it. Just add a bunch of water to your paint. And just so it's nice and transparent. Look at how that gives such a richness to our colors underneath there. I'm going to kind of skip around and just do random small kind of brush strokes over the top to kind of give it pockets of dark color in our fur. So I'm not going to cover all of it with this, but it did kind of go right around the face and ears. And then I'll go around the back side of the fur there. Let's do right here. And then let's use that color a little bit under the face right here. So let's do some on the muzzle, maybe like right around the eyes. Set those back. Kind of the bottom part, like make a V shape. So from the bottom of the nose all the way to the bottom of the eye. Darken that up right there. And then we can pull it out just slightly and underneath. And that gives it shape now. All of a sudden he's got a little bit of dimension to his face. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of that around the top side of the eye too. Just to kind of set that back. There we go. Okay, so now that we've got that on there, I can go back in now with my white one last time. Press that brush nice and flat. And I'm going to pull some brush strokes up over that shadowed area. With that white. Just be careful where your line starts, because you don't want it to have a really hard starting line, if that makes sense. So you kind of want to touch down very lightly. All right, let's put a few little tiny little brush strokes in on the nose right in the middle here. Teeny tiny little taps. There we go. Oh, he's so stinking cute. I can't stand it. I can't really stand it.
You couldn't hold it back anymore, could you?
I couldn't hold it back. So cute. He's so cute. Okay, get some white and mix it with that. If you've got zinc white, you could use that for this. I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow oxide too, I think. With my glazing liquid, making a nice thin yellowish white glaze, and I'm going to use that tip and glaze that bottom edge of my eye a little bit. Use your finger to kind of tap it off if you need to, but that'll just kind of give it a little glow inside the eye. And if we've covered up our line too much, I can just go back in with a little bit of black and clean up. I want a nice hard line of black around the outside, and especially up at the top of the eye. It needs to be shadowed right there. So nice dark around the top and bottom there. And then I'm going to go back in with the black too and kind of add our little nostrils in case those kind of got disappeared on us. And put a little split in the middle of his nose. These are very like last minute. You don't really have to do this. I'm just kind of being adding a little extra detail here. Let's add a little bit of this gray blue that we'd mixed before and put a little bit right there on the bottom of the nose. Give it a little bit of highlight on the inside of that nostril. I think it's too big. Let me take that off. Try that again. A little bit smaller. There we go. Okay. Zoom out a little bit. I don't want to look at it on camera here on screen. There we go. Okay. Cute. All right, so I want to mix up some of the umblage titanium with the burnt umber, and I'm switching to a flat brush here to make it a little bit easier to do our dry brushing. Just got a little number 2 bright, and I'm going to go very lightly side to side. In our little foreground area, just to add a little bit more, a little bit brighter color. And then I'm going to grab that 1/4 inch angle brush and we'll put in a few more grasses now. We'll grab the yellow and green. Maybe add a little bit of the yellow oxide too. And we'll put in a few. I know this is the scary part because you're like, you've already done all this work. You don't want to cover up anything, but it really will help just to have a little bit of grasses up and around his feet and over the top, just slightly. Go a little bit darker, maybe a little bit of burnt umber in the with the green there. Don't cover up too much of him, but we do want to kind of set him back just slightly. So just a little bit, kind of right around the edges there. Adding some white to that burnt umber color. And this is where I can kind of use the brush and create a stem on some of these grasses here. I can go back in and add a little stem to them if I need to. And I'm going to kind of curve in, this way, wrong way. Curve in from the side so it looks like these grasses are maybe bent over a little bit in towards our hedgehog path. like that. Let's do the same thing on this side. Kind of curve some grasses over and go as tall as you need to kind of set back these farther back grasses. So bring some of these up and in front. And if they're not contrasting enough, just change the color a little bit. So if your grasses behind are a little bit darker, you can, and you're not seeing the front grasses enough, just add a little bit of white to make them a little bit brighter. And you should be able to see that depth pop out a little bit at you. See that? The key to with grasses is not to have them all lined up. So that's one of the things that I see a lot is when I talked about it up here too, you know, not worrying about bringing that grass all the way down to the bottom. Same thing with these ones here. We don't want them to all kind of start at the same spot. We want them to overlap like this and not like this. So you don't want to line up your grasses so that they're all the same height and all the same stopping point. You want to, you know, do them. And in fact, it's better if they're, some are really long, some are really short, but definitely start, change up just like we did with the fir here. Change up the direction and size. Keep it very random, and then you'll get this kind of nice, uneven grass look. Oh, he's so cute. I love it. Okay, I'm whispering. I love it when a painting comes together. This is my favorite stage of a painting, by far, when it starts to look like something, and it's like, yes, it's working. It's working. Okay, sorry. I'm going to mix some quinacridone magenta with my ultramarine blue here. And grab some white, a little bit more blue maybe. There we go. So, have not used the purple, have not used the orange, don't think I'm going to, so those two can be kind of scrapped. We'll just do this here. And I'm going to make some little forget-me-not kind of type purple flowers happening down low. Just using the edge of my brush, kind of holding it sideways and tapping. So I'm getting random sized dots. You can use the round brush like we did up here if you prefer that. These aren't showing up very good, so I'm gonna probably need to change the value a little bit. You're not seeing them against the darker grasses very well, or the lighter grasses. They're too much the same value. So we'll have to brighten them up quite a bit. Use a nice bright white there. Go back in and add some of that. Now we're seeing them. And then I'm going to add some of that dark ultramarine blue, get some of that brighter, darker blue, and we'll add a little bit of that to some of these flowers. Maybe just underneath some of our highlights so they really pop out more. Now we're seeing them. All about contrast. Just getting it just right. Contrast in the right colors. Having the quinacridone magenta up here and again down here will unify these flowers. We could add a little bit of quinacridone in our hedgehog if we wanted to, even to kind of give him a little bit of that pink color. And some of our highlights. Should we add some daisies, or are we good? We're at an hour and 15 minutes. Should we stop?
Oh, I don't know if we could have enough flowers ever.
Okay, I'll add some more flowers then.
You know me. The more flowers, the better.
Okay. We'll just add a couple little daisies here. So I'm going to place them, figure out my placement here. Let's place one kind of going over the top. So we'll put one here. Put one down right here. And then one down low, right there. Let's do 5 so that we have an odd number. One there. We'll do kind of one that's sort of poking out that way. And then another one right in here. Okay, that'll be good. So I've loaded my white on my number 1 round. I'm just going to set it flat and pull up. Whoop, what did I just do there? That was weird. Like that. Let's do some right here. These ones are kind of halfway opened, or they're already laying flat open. Petals are curled down. And these ones are going to be wide open. My white's getting sticky. If you're curious about learning how to do these brush strokes for these daisies, I have a video for that, and it's called 5 Essential Brushes for Brushstroke Painting or something like that. It's an older one, but it shows how to do this kind of brush stroke. You just basically you set down your brush and pull and lift at the same time, and you're also doing some kind of common strokes on some of these where you're kind of turning your brush a little bit, but it's a really good practice for just learning general brush control. Learning some of these simple brush strokes really can help with your painting skills in general. Because they're all about kind of manipulating the brush and turning it and lifting control, control on the pressure that you're placing on the brush. And the more that you can control that, the easier time you will have of painting things and getting them the way that you want them to. So we'll do that one kind of where those daisies are kind of like that. Okay. Yeah, I definitely like the daisies. I'm glad we added those. Just another layer of interest. Let's use the burnt sienna and our cadmium yellow to create a nice deep gold for the centers. Actually, grab some of that burnt sienna and add a little bit of that at the bottom. Let's add the burnt sienna first. And then grab that gold, maybe add a little white to it to brighten it up so it covers better. Yellow does not tend to cover very well on especially on darker colors, it tends to be a little bit more transparent. So sometimes you'll need a couple coats of yellow, or using white first and then adding yellow on top will make it a little bit more vibrant. But you've made it work there. Right. And then there again, we can go back in and add stems to our daisies if we need to, if they're missing a stem. Let's add a little bit of that color from the centers of the flowers, that yellow down here in our foreground. So I've got a little bit of that quinacridone magenta pink and a little bit of the yellow there. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that, I think. Whoops. Oh. Wait till your daisies dry before you try to wipe off the chalk. I never listen to my own advice, so. What you doing, hun?
Reading chat. Trying to answer questions.
Any last minute questions? Because I think we're done.
The only big question that came up was how can you store leftover paints?
Ah, that's a good one. Yeah, it depends on if you're using a palette like that, like a flat palette, or if you're using a plate. For years I used a foam plate because it made it easier to store the paints in just a regular Ziploc baggie. But for a palette like this, you would need to put it into I have a large Tupperware thing that I stick it in. I have to tear the sheet off, but it fits in large kind of casserole Tupperware thing, and it stays good for a good week that way. So all right, so one last thing that I want to do to my daisies. I don't think I can do it yet to them because they're not dry, but I'll go back in and maybe add a little bit of brighter white to the outside edges here. And that will just kind of darken up those centers so that it gives it a little bit of a shadowed look on the centers. But I'm run out of white, so. Or we can go back in and maybe use, let's use a little bit of our ultramarine blue with white. Use that as a glaze and just kind of glaze over a little bit of a shadow on the centers of our daisies, just so they don't look so, they're a little bit like stark, against all these other flowers. So this will just give it an extra little layer of detail. And the blue will tie in the blue flowers below. We could use a brown even to do this, but I think it'll be pretty. Don't go too blue though. You want it to be very subtle, so make sure that it's a very light blue and use it very sparingly. Don't end up with blue daisies. Okay, there we go. You know what? I said that, but I'm going to add a little bit of this white.
Man, you got me good
gold.
There.
Did you?
Yeah, you thought really thought you were done.
Shut up.
It's like, oh wait, I gotta get ready to switch the scene. Oh, no.
Are you lying?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, good. I thought you were joking. Just adding a little bit of this white dots in amongst our little, it's got a little of the gold in there too. I think that'll just kind of tie it all in. Yeah, make it a little bit brighter down here at the bottom. All right, there he is. He's so cute.
Are we really done this time?
We're done this time.
Are
Hope
you
you guys
sure?
enjoyed this. If you do it, you can share it with me on my social media. I got all the links down in the description there for that. And I hope you have a good weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday night with another tutorial for you. And should be fun. I don't know what we're doing yet, but we're going to start with Christmas, so it may be Christmas. Please give this video a thumbs up, like it, share it across your social media, let other people know what I'm doing here. If you like it, that tells YouTube that you want to see more of my videos, so they'll suggest them to you. It really helps me out. And if you're new to the channel, please go and check out my other videos. You can click on my name or my photograph there below the video, and it'll take you to my homepage on my channel. You can see all the other videos that I've got. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.